Welcome to this week's edition of the No Script Show, where I'm maximally salty that we didn't have as good an April Fool's prank as Conscious Caracal.
What was Conscious's April Fool's prank?
His big face reveal and all that. It was posted on the. He actually did DM me that he was going to do that, but I
Yeah.
didn't believe him. And then he did the whole big self face reveal, doxing, whatever. And I'm like, we should have had a prank that good.
We should have.
We had creative differences which weren't real. Sorry, guys, for those of you who saw that tweet from the show's account.
So yeah, welcome to the No Script Show. You can find us at noscriptshow.com and at noscriptshow on Twitter, where Wotan over here runs the account more than I do, so he tends to post whatever, and occasionally likes spicy comebacks from the show's account, which I think is quite interesting. I've even already forgotten what that one was.
I'm not sure what it was. Speaking of spiciness, I would like to actually, this might derail things a bit, but I would actually like to thank Twitter for displaying the slightest bit of fairness as per a certain threatening tweet to Canthan Pillay and his wife, which was reported, and they actually did something about it.
What? This is unheard of. I think a lot of us reported that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we discussed this offline. I was like, I saw that notification when I woke up the next day. I'm like, what? Twitter did something? Twitter applied a standard?
This is amazing. We should do it more often. It's like a Christmas miracle when they actually get involved.
I was like, what?
Amazing. Yeah, no, it's been like another one of those crazy weeks. And at the end of last week's double bowl episode, I thought of a joke, and I've been keeping it in the whole week. And actually, I want to tell you the joke, Odin, right now, live
Sure.
on air. Are you ready?
Sure. Go ahead.
ANN7. Do you remember ANN7?
Wait, there are things still?
I don't know.
Wait, no, are you actually seriously suggesting they're still an organization?
They're not. But because there's a clip that I have exactly once, and I still have this clip, and I will post it and I will share it because the world deserves to remember this. When two guys from the entertainment industry, South Africa, IESA, whatever, went on ANN7 as part of a segment involving online gaming, and the presenter at the time introduced it in the most childish way possible, and it is my favorite, like 5 seconds of video ever. I will link it in the description of the video and of the podcast, just because it absolutely was a stunning interview to watch. The dude had no idea about games, like, at all. Because that whole station, start to finish, was a meme. The whole fucking thing.
I'm just like, are they still a thing? Like, I know a girl that used to work for them, actually.
Wow. Not anymore.
She left because she didn't like working for a Gupta-controlled company, so...
Shock horror. Because, no, it became Afro World Voice, and then it also, I think their DSTV license got pulled, and now Jimmy Money is like in the ATM party, which is the best acronym possible for a party.
Can there be an acronym more brazen of a political party, considering the unrelenting plundering that has happened to this country because of politics? Can you honestly have an acronym more brazen than ATM?
Yes, you can.
Which is?
DLC.
So EA launches its official political party, Electronic Arts. We'll give you a president, but you have to pay extra for a finance minister. Fucking EA and their DLC. For those of you listening, DLC stands for downloadable content, which originally in the gaming world was meant to be an optional extra. You know, like you had a pie. Would you like an extra slice of pie? But it evolved to a point where it became, we're going to give you a slice of pie, and if you'd like the whole pie, you have to pay us extra, even though you paid the full price of a game. And that is why many of us in the gaming community are, shall we say, cynically bitter about DLC.
Yes, it's perfect. Because DLC, downloadable content, exists as a thing because game companies are trying to squeeze as much money as they can out of their paying users. And I'm like, if that is not a perfect description of government, I don't know what is. So yes, DLC is like the perfect acronym for a party
DLC.
in this election.
Also, apparently, Purple Cow Party is broke now. You don't need evidence; it's just broke. You
Yeah,
have to believe it.
it's just broke, guys. No, actually, so I saw that going around. No, the party is extremely transparent. That actually came straight from Sarah, who herself tweeted that. Because
What was the source tweet on that? Sorry, just contextualize it for everyone,
I will find it. The thing
or
is,
rather, high level summary
it's
it
like,
for everyone.
well, it's like that tweet was interesting. What was more interesting is when Kanthan called Winnie a cougar blesser and the internet blew up. And then Sarah did a whole thread about how she was once also a cougar blesser. And in that moment, I haven't loved the Purple Cow Party more just because of the sheer amount of honesty that's going on. Let me actually find it quickly because this is the thing, right? This whole thing is like a guerrilla party. I mean,
And I got into that as well with somebody else today.
Yeah, no, she did this whole long thread yesterday, starting with a strategy for the Purple Cow launch and basically how it was meant to last for 3 days, and now it's evolved into like a full blown business. And you'll find out more about that on Radio 702 tomorrow. Inside tip, nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that thread, she does mention the costs spiraled, but she keeps going because it's a good thing that's happening. And then at one point, she does actually mention, quote, "It's tricky because I've run out of money," end quote. She personally has contributed a lot to this campaign, but she's not the only one. There's other donors, it's not like, but in either case, my best takeaway is that, the capitalist party is broke. It's like, okay, the ANC is fundraising. Have you guys seen this? The ANC, Captain State Capture, Trillion Rand Nuclear Project, Jacob Zuma and Kandla, ANC is fundraising. You want to come at us for like 10 people? Like, what? I'm sorry. Let's just take a step back.
Also, they're not exactly broke, just FYI. Each of the ZACP members are quite liquid in for the most part in their personal finances.
Yes.
They're just not fucking plundering taxpayers' money.
Yes. I just, but like the whole concept is like amazing to me because all in like the last week, the ANC is fundraising, WTF. Then a story breaks. One of the EFF MPs goes against Malema and Shivambu, claiming that they're the only ones with access to the party's bank account, and no one knows what the financials look like. There's been no report since 2014, apparently, on the party's own financials. So now the rumor is doing the rounds that it's basically their personal piggy bank. And into that go the EFF donations, contributions from MPs, their parliamentary budget, all gets dumped into this account with no oversight. And apparently it's just their personal spending money. So it's like, okay, no, you want to talk about, money and politics. I think those are far more interesting stories than a lean startup trying to disrupt something. And taking a risk, which is what the ZSCP is doing.
So big oof. Also, FYI, I also just for the sake of clarity, plan to voluntarily donate to the ZACP. By the way, guys, you can, if you wish, voluntarily donate however much you wish to donate. This is called voluntarism, guys. It's you willingly giving over what you can or want to give over.
Yeah. So I'll do a little bit of shilling. The donate page is on capitalist.org.za/donate, and you'll find the donate button on there. I will also disclose I have donated, because of course I have. I believe in what these guys are doing. I had a DA MP on Twitter ask me who was paying me to engage on Twitter, and I just thought, that's amazing, dude. No, I'm actually paying them. I'm giving the party money for this.
Yes. FYI, guys, both of us have actual jobs. We're not being paid by the Capitalist Party. We earn our bucks independently.
Yes. No, but we
do. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about the interaction I had earlier on Twitter about the guy claiming that they broke. I'm like, evidence? And he's like, I don't just get your own evidence, you imbecile.
Do your own research. Like, that's just like the defense of like, I can't substantiate my argument, so you do the work for me. How about no? But also, like, here's the thing, like, and so today I hosted a small get together for a couple of local Purple Cow supporters. We had a braai. I am feeling extremely sunburned right now because I'm the idiot.
I'm sorry. I can't relate, fam.
Yeah, it's that melanin privilege you've got. That's
I can't relate. Yeah.
yeah, no, just because I mean I'm the kind of typical office desk bound fat white guy who barely goes outside for prolonged periods of time. I should actually do it more, but yeah, it's just the whole day, so I can feel it now. But the topic came up, and I've already lost my train of thought. This has been that kind of day. Where were we?
The Bri.
The Bri, and then before that we were talking.
This is how you guys know that this is live. That we literally do not script the show. Just so you know.
Oh, it came down to money. Yes, sorry, I'm back on track with the donations and stuff. Other than paying to register the party with the IEC, which is like $500, and paying a deposit to contest national or provincial elections, other than that, there's not a huge amount of money that actually has to go into politics. What matters is the reach of your message, how many voters you can, talk to, how many people actually vote for you. I mean, voting is free. Social media is free. It's like I know that if you want to do T-shirts and trucks and posters and huge rallies and food parcels and plaster your candidate's face everywhere and pay people lumps of cash out of the boots of cars, which has all happened, you need a huge war chest for that. But one of the premises and one of the things I like about this is that we're in a digital age now. This is a little bit more disruptive, you probably don't need as big a budget to actually make something happen in the digital space. So
I'm glad you mentioned it because, I mean, if you really think about it, what is the cost of propagating a hashtag? The cost of retweeting and reblogging stuff and posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Like data cost wise, okay, there's a data cost, but really a retweet, how much cost is it's ridiculous how low that barrier is.
Yeah, and the other cool thing is that since starting, the party has gotten a whole bunch of people with skills and connections and resources who are volunteering. So there's a lot of stuff being produced by fans. It's essentially people are taking the brand and running with it, and it's going a lot further than anyone thought it could go. And it's like, I have not seen a good DA meme ever. Not once.
I just had one of my friends he's not on Twitter anymore, but Gorgonzola just send me a giant treasure trove of memes, which I intend to tweet out for the Purple Cow Party. It's just ridiculous, the number of memes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I have not in my life, all the memes I've seen are like ANC and EFF, and it's people making fun of them. Meanwhile, there are people that are so enthusiastic about this that they're actually putting time and effort in to volunteer for this stuff, and it's all spontaneous. And it's like,
right, and I mean, you can rip memes all you want. You can rip meme magic, as it were, as the alt-right hacker known as 4chan would say, meme magic.
The alt-right hacker known as 4chan. Wow.
I'm sorry, I had to go there. You can rip it. Yes, the alt-right hacker known as 4chan.
I just like to pause there for a second. Where does that come from? Was that actually a thing someone said? Because
it's happened in a couple of news. One of the last times I was in the States, I actually heard it on a news report. What? But I've seen it on other YouTube videos of news reports as well. Like, what is it about news agencies in the United States not understanding that 4chan is a fucking message board, not a person or hacker, but they're like the alt-right hacker known as 4chan today found Shia LaBeouf. And I'm like, no, 4chan is a lot of things to a lot of people.
That's amazing. I love that sentence existed in somebody's head sincerely and truly.
Like I actually remember, like I was in a cab in New York City, and I was freaking getting back from JFK, and I was watching that crappy cab television thing, and they switched the channel, and it was like what was it? It was the early morning review, and I think it was some random news report, and they're like, today we'd like to report to you this craziest internet goings on, the alt-right hacker known as 4chan, and I'm sitting in the back of a cab, I'm like trying to stifle my laughter.
That's just too good.
Like that is, somebody said that. I'd like you to realize somebody put quote unquote research into this. Somebody typed this up, and a news network that presumably churns out millions of dollars of money every year had an anchor say that sentence on that. Really digest that for a second.
That's amazing. But it's also like the thing is, it's like, you know, like, this happens all the time. Like, you know, these kind of second-rate news websites will be like, oh, the internet is outraged at this inconsequential thing. And then they quote like 3 people on Twitter who collectively have 1,000 followers. And it's like, that's not outrage, guys. That's you just like desperate for a story. So it's like the media and the internet have a very strange relationship. I just love that I could notice 4chan because
I really wish I'd recorded that on my phone and just like,
no, it's like we
WhatsApp that to you. Like
we live in a timeline where all things are possible. So yes.
Speaking of WhatsApping that to you, yes, guys, Wogan and I actually do have a working relationship outside of the show. We're not just like entities that happen every Saturday or so.
Although I do like to think of myself as an entity that just happens every Saturday, because that would be easy. If my whole life was an hour and a half once a week, guys,
no,
I'd be so relaxed.
I was saying that as a tongue-in-cheek comment because, you know, as I said to you offline earlier this week, I came to the realization that, you know, a lot of people see, you know, people, and this is not to say we're the biggest podcast on earth, because we're the biggest joke podcast on earth, let's be honest.
We are the worst tech podcast ever.
Yeah, worst. You know, a lot of people see yourself and, you know, myself and people like Conscious Caracal and Ruman as an entity they see on their screen or hear on their phone or whatever every week or so or couple of days. I came to the realization that they're not cognizant of the fact that we have jobs too. We wake up and we go to work every day. Like, this is just something we do on Saturdays.
Yeah, it's like just, I mean, it's just, okay, so there's a whole bunch of concepts around this. For example, you know what Dunbar's number is, right?
The maximum number of meaningful friendships you can have.
Yeah, 150. So
there's also the IQ band caveat to that.
Okay. But I'm just talking about the number now. So there's this theory that basically people get wrapped up in like soapy dramas and news stories because when you start engaging with a person, even if they don't engage back, like if you just let like Trump or AOC or My Money or anybody, and you start treating them as if they're a person, you start.
There goes our AOC free podcast. Thanks, buddy.
No, I haven't said anything about it. I'm carrying on. But the thing is that takes up space in your brain as if it is a real person. It actually takes up one of your friendship slots, if I can call it that, which is why people get so heavily emotionally invested in, like, you know, daytime TV soap operas and movie characters and things like that. But you're always only ever seeing a short version of their lives, a projection of it. Because what I can tell you for an absolute fact is that Rian Kreyvagen, the legendary news presenter, has received head a couple of times in his life. Now, you don't even have to think about that, but just, you know, my whole life, I've seen Rian Kreyvagen present the news, and he's always like the same hairstyle, the same voice, the same cadence, the same everything. Guarantee you the man has a life off camera. We all do.
Of course.
We're all human beings. But occasionally, it's like, if all you ever see is this projection, it's like, oh, the only data I have on this friend person in my brain is that I hear them on a podcast every once a week, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, no, people can get that wrong. Quite right.
My caveat for that is the IQ band number. This is not a shout out, by the way, to Stefan Molyneux and his IQ obsession.
No. If you say that in the mirror 3 times, the alt-right appears. Don't do it.
The IQ band.
We don't need Ben Shapiro, the hero of the alt-right, showing up on this podcast.
that incredibly alt-right Jew who walks around with a what's the hat called? Yarmulke.
Yarmulke, right.
With a yarmulke and observes Sabbath. He's so orthodox he actually observes Sabbath, switches off his phone. Yes, that incredibly alt-right Jew. Yeah. Ooh, I'm glad you mentioned him. Have you seen the Ben ShapiBro video?
No. No, but I just...
Yes, it's beautiful. It is everything in the world. People made a video. I think it was a Daily Call or something. Made a video of Ben Shapiro in university, and he's a college frat bro.
Oh
So
my god.
imagine Ben Shapiro with his normal argumentative style, but
Yeah.
he's playing like beer pong, and he's like, and you're like, you can't make that. And he's like, actually, facts don't care about your feelings. Also, I'm about to make the shot, and also, I'm about to mac up your girl, and he makes the shot. And I was just like, this is amazing. And then to top it all off, Ben Shapiro himself quoted the tweet, and he said, "Guys, I thought this was supposed to be off the record." Yes, yes, yes. I needed to sit down.
Oh,
I was like, yes, this is beautiful. This is great. Yeah. So
that's...
Ben Shapiro was apparently a frat bro. Yeah. When I
sometimes
was
the internet delivers unto you miracles.
yeah.
Sorry, you were talking about the IQ band thing. So
Oh yes. Not. It's just a caveat, not a shout out to Stefan Molyneux,
you've said it
but
twice now.
okay, I've only got one more to go.
Don't,
But
don't, don't, don't.
the IQ band thing is I cannot for the life of me remember the study right now. But basically the summary of it was you are only capable of maintaining meaningful romantic and platonic relationships
Mm-hmm.
with people who are within 30 IQ points of yourself, 30 below and 30 above.
Well, that kind of
And
makes intuitive sense, though. Like, I mean, I've never seen a very smart and a very dumb
exactly.
person. Like, that hasn't...
Sorry, that's for the long term. You can
Okay.
be friends with, and the reason for that is, if somebody's too high above you, obviously they seem alien and aloof and cold, and that sort of wears down the relationship, if as it were. And if somebody's too far below you, they become predictable. I'm trying to phrase this as nicely as possible.
Well, no,
Predictable and childish, and
but I can
yeah,
imagine, like,
and
just because I just think of it in terms of a maturity scale. Because I know people who grow up and they never seem to elevate beyond a certain level of maturity. Like
exactly. So
which is, it's kind of crazy. Like, so every month...
I'll look for the study. I really can't, for the life of me, remember the name, but it kind of made sense when I read it. I was like,
Yeah,
okay, this makes sense. Like,
but it makes intuitive sense. Like, so we do these dev meetups once a month, and on the last one, because we all kind of finish and then we get to the parking lot and we kind of have a chat before we all go our separate ways. And while we were standing there, this old gentleman kind of parked his car and walked, around us to go to a bar that was inside the building. And then he kind of stopped and came back and was like, guys, you should come in for a drink and support this little bar. And we're like a bunch of nerds. Like, all of us are like, it's like Thursday night. We don't want to go drinking. So we're like, no, that's fine. And he tried, he kept persisting. It was like, no,
says you. I'm like Tony Stark.
Oh,
nerd.
yeah, no, you go for it. And then it's like at the end of it, he's like, oh, you're just a bunch of squares. And then he walks away. And we're all like, what just happened? Like, this man is like his late 60s calling us a bunch of squares. Like, am I in a John Travolta movie? What's going on right now? I don't know. But it does make a certain amount of sense.
It does.
Okay.
And I mean, it calls back to my relationship advice package, if I could call it that my mom gave me as I was getting older.
There we go. Yep.
Where she said, to the effect of, amongst other things, I won't reveal the whole package, but amongst other things, what she said is try to the two key things she said is try to find somebody who shares the same values as you, and try to find somebody who is as intellectually your equal or intellectually your compatriot. And as I get older now, I really realize the value of those two key pieces of advice, because I have gone against both of those pieces of advice at key points in my, and it has been disastrous. The results have been disastrous. So Ma, if you ever listen to this, Ma, you were right. I'm so sorry.
There we go. That concludes our Mother's Day special. It's not Mother's Day, is it?
No, it's not. That's quite a bit away. Yeah.
All right. Well, I do want to shout out to a man who's been dead for over 300 years. Today is the anniversary of Jan van Riebeeck landing in the Cape.
Oh, shit, dog. Now we're fully
yeah.
alt-right.
No, I didn't even know. I see the memes. People are kind of posting it on Twitter. And apparently the 6th of April, 1652, that was the date. So it's a special day today, 367 years later.
Are we going to shout out Conscious Caracal for his huge face reveal?
I think we should. And also, so just to be clear, because I saw the video, because he sent it to me, and then I've only watched like maybe 20 minutes of YouTube in the last month. I'm not very good with YouTube.
I mean, for clarity's sake and honesty's sake, we do live close to each other in our town and in Pretoria, and I've hung out with him before a couple of times, and it was surprising. He said he was going to do it, but I didn't actually think he was just going to do it. So that was entertaining.
I'm more disappointed he actually wasn't an anthropomorphic caracal. That was actually the real disappointment to me. I was hoping for a big man cat, but as it turns out, he's just a regular guy. So
that's quite yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. But it's all good. We've invented technology to fix that. So I did see that, and then also that he's joining AfriForum. Do I have that right?
He's not joining. He's been working for AfriForum for some time. For some time now, yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually pretty cool because like just every other week they end up in the news because somebody else gets something wrong about them, which is quite astonishing. AfriForum is like the most misinterpreted organization in history. It's wild how many things people accuse them of.
Yeah. Crazy. Including funding us.
Dude, I wish. Like the IRR, the Koch brothers, fucking no one's gotten back to me. I'm just...
Guys. Koch brothers, IRR, AfriForum, Israel, where are our checks, guys? Yeah, come on. Where are our checks?
Dude, I would take Ghana money at this point, okay? Like...
Israel, where is our Jewish conspiracy checks? Where are our Zionist checks? We've shilled for you long enough. Where are our checks?
I just thought of that. It's Progress SA, that the liberty leading group at UCT.
Yeah.
Who were accused...
Tammy Jackson and I think Gareth, something like that.
Yeah, they were on Renegade Report a while ago. And it's just like,
Tammy's kind of fine though.
Dude, I don't want to hear your Tinder preferences on the show. Come on.
We actually discussed Tinder in the office the other day.
It's not that I disagree. Sorry, you were saying?
No, we discussed Tinder the other day in office because one of my managers got married to his longtime girlfriend / love interest, as you say, okay. You know. And I made a joke saying, it's in our contracts at my company that you cannot date coworkers, which everybody immediately accepted as true, even though that wasn't actually in my contract. I can't speak for everyone, but I thought it was amusing that everyone in the room suddenly just said, oh, yeah, that must be true, which to me indicates how little people read their employment contracts, which is fucking frightening, to be honest.
Welcome to South Africa. Nobody reads shit.
I had to at some point reveal, by the way, guys, I was kidding about the not dating your coworkers thing. But the point is, myself and one of my coworkers made a joke to the extent of, what did he set his Tinder profile to within 10 meters of myself and just start swiping right. But I mean, yeah.
God damn.
Isn't it funny? People I just said, yeah, you're not allowed to date. It's in your contract. I'm sorry, guys. We each signed individual contracts. All our contracts are different. It may have been in my contract. It may not have been in your contract. And
guys,
again,
read the fine print. Holy shit! Seriously.
Right, thank you. And I really understand. I can see the pain in your face as you're face palming this, and I felt the same.
I'm just.
You're a grown. Okay, imagine this. You're an adult. You are entering into a voluntary legal contract, and you are signing it without. Inspecting the terms. Think about how insane that is.
This is why we need government to intervene in private contracts, because people don't know what the fuck they're signing. Okay, you see, this actually upsets me. I'm not a lawyer, but I can read the English language for meaning, and I've read every contract I've ever signed. I've written contracts that I've gotten other people to sign, and it's not rocket science, like it really isn't. But when people keep not understanding the contracts and signing them and then complaining, in aggregate, those complaints look like business is unjust, and then there's lobbying for governments to step in to create rules. And to a certain extent, that makes a kind of sense. Like, you don't want to ever sign a cell phone contract that then includes a lien on your house by default, right? Because that would be insane. And legally, I don't think you can do that. But also, if more people read their contracts, we wouldn't need government regulations on this. Yeah. There was a story a while ago, and this is legit bad, where I think it was Lewis, the furniture store, or one of them.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. Like sorry, going on that.
They were caught out. I mean, they were doing it a whole lot, but the one that stuck out with me was they basically gave some unemployed guy a washing machine at like twice the cost, after like factoring the credit agreement and a bunch of insurance and delivery charges that never happened. And it's like their defense was, oh, but he signed on the dotted line. And everyone else's defense was, yes, but the guy can't read. He was trusting you not to screw him over. And I'm just looking at this whole situation and I'm like, how did we get here? I don't understand. But this is like the whole thing. So in the selection cycle, I'm very conscious of the fact that the ZSCP and all these liberty parties are pushing for individual responsibility in a country where people seem to just be unwilling to do the absolute basics of just like reading the contracts they sign. Like, this is not, and it's not even American. Like, you should see American contracts are worse. Ours are still, you can get through them in like 45 minutes.
I mean, at my current company, obviously I won't go into details, but you and I discussed this, and I read the contract at length, and we discussed it before I actually signed the damn contract.
Yeah.
And I discussed this with you, some family members, some legal people. Like, I don't just sign employment contracts.
We actually, correct me if
insanity.
We found a bullet point that we challenged, and didn't they come back with like, oh, that's in all the contracts, it shouldn't be there, or something like that? Like, they actually came back with
precisely. Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna grill that point, but yeah, you're right. We did find that bullet. I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, we did find that bullet point, and we're like, hang on a second.
And I just because the crazy thing is,
how many people just signed that though,
yes,
without looking at that bullet point? That's the scary. How many people just said, yeah, okay.
And it's like,
give me money.
So because the thing is, contracts look official. When somebody gives you a document, like it's neatly formatted with a logo, with signature points, it looks like, okay, someone has kind of thought through this. In reality, any dipshit can write a contract. Like, it's not, there's no sacred procedure, there's no ritual, there's no certification. Anyone. In fairness, there are things that you can't do in contracts, like they have to be consistent with the law and the Constitution, and there's contract specific. There's contract language.
Just to extract your point, sorry. What we're basically saying to people to make them aware is the point that a contract is not something you need a lawyer for. A contract is a written piece of a contract. Functionally, is just the written piece of paper that proves that you and another party agreed to something. You don't need a lawyer or a judge or anything like that. So long as I and another party agree to something, that is a contract, and it being written down is the thing. So you as a person, you don't need to be legally qualified. You as a person, another person can legally write something on paper, sign it, and that's a contract, and you can take that to court. Guys, in case you weren't aware. You can do that,
and that's where, the point I was getting to is that there's no template or form for contracts, but there are limitations around the definition of words, using consistent language, being, it's like there are rules you have to follow, and some of them are explicitly written. Like, you can actually, if you do contract law, you learn all about those rules.
I mean, sorry, for me, like, for example, the last 3 contracts I signed, it's like, me, like it refers to me, ID number, all that crap. It's like hereafter known as the employee, and further on in the contract says the employee agrees to X, Y, and Z. Continue.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like, so that there's all this sort of stuff, but the thing is, there's this perception that contracts are just the sort of thing you click past or scribble past just to kind of get the service or the good that you want. And it's like, dude, don't do that. Don't ever do that.
I'm sorry. This is just so insane to me that people just.
Because like, especially because like, and you have to know this, especially in the B2B world, right? So when you're dealing with a big company like a Vodacom phone contract, the document you're signing has gone through a whole bunch of lawyers and legal counsel. It's been updated lots of times. It's probably okay because they're the ones that get nailed with huge penalties on the business side. But in terms of B2B contracting, people will write and change contracts if you ask for it. I mean, I spoke to a company that's easily 10 million times bigger than I am revenue-wise, and me and their lawyer negotiated a contract, and we ended up taking out a bunch of clauses that would have prejudiced my own business. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't have a law degree. I didn't pay anyone to do it. I just read the language and was like, hold on, this clause doesn't seem like it's in my best interests. And you're allowed to do that as like a human being. You're allowed.
That's another thing, and I think maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased as a programmer, but I think developers are. I hate to play into the stereotype, but I'm just going to be honest. Developers are really, really sort of turtles in their shells, and they're willing to accept any sort of contract. They're like, you passed the interview, you're hired. And they're like, okay. And they just sign the contract. Guys, you can negotiate your contract. You do not need to sign it the day you get it. In fact, you're allowed to, and you should negotiate the value of your labor. You're allowed to do these things. This is called a free market. Just do it. Seriously, just say, I'd like 5,000 Rand more on my gross salary, or, oh, I don't like this. You're allowed to do this. They're not going to instantly retract your offer, because as it turns out, and again, I'm saying very specifically for computer programmers, we are a very highly demanded resource in the world right now, for now.
Yeah, for now.
So seriously, guys.
Pretty soon it'll just be potato farmers and plumbers after the Third World War wipes all of us out. But there's a story that kind of has been floating around the internet since 2013, which is true, but I don't know how it ended. Apparently, it was in Russia. Because banks, they send out these unsolicited credit agreements that you can just sign and get a credit card. And so apparently this one guy received it and got fed up. So on the paperwork, he physically wrote in some of his own terms and then sent it back to the bank, who signed it without reading it. And then he sued the bank for about $1 million because according to the terms of the contract that he wrote, the bank owed him that money. And that took like a good couple of years to work its way through the courts. And the reason for that is contracts are not like an incidental bit of, just procedure. It's actually, that is the document that describes what's going to happen in this relationship. So
I'm still struggling to, I don't know, maybe this is my elitism showing, but I'm still struggling. I'm still struggling to come to terms with the concept that there are really people who sign legally binding contracts without really understanding the terms. Guys, I'm asking you again, please read it.
If you read the contract and you don't understand it, you're entitled to ask for clarification or a rewrite, or for it to be put into your own native language. Exactly.
I mean, I know I sound like fed up, but it's just, come on.
It's
please,
people like you that are taking us into socialism, okay?
Yeah.
Because if everyone is individually responsible and we're able to negotiate and contract like adults in a free marketplace without enormous abuses, then you don't need a huge government to look over your shoulder all the time. But the moment you don't do that, the moment you leave it up to the Competition Commission and the Consumer Protection Act and all the rest, then yes, then you do need Big Brother to look over your shoulder, because we can't trust you to do the most basic things. And the crazy thing is, it's like there's that meme about, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but schools don't teach you how to do taxes or apply for a loan or get a credit card, or or deal with contracts. Like nowhere in school do they teach you what a contract is, which is also just ridiculous. Like that's a very
Yeah,
basic thing.
no, like honestly, yeah, the education system does need an overhaul. And I know there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, I swear by this education system," and "Oh, I swear by that education system." And as you can hear from my accent, I am a beneficiary of private school education. I'm a private
Oh
school
my god,
black, but
I'm in the presence of real elitism here. Let me just. Should I bow down? How does this work?
yeah, we played polo at my school. Anyway,
Jesus, dude, you're literally turning whiter as you say that.
I can still tie a Windsor knot like on like full Windsor, half Windsor, various other knots, St.
WNC.
Andrew knots, just
This is apartheid stratcom tendencies. Okay.
I'm just saying I can do that like at a
Yep.
moment's notice. You've seen me with a tie on.
I have. You actually look pretty damn good.
Yeah, I can just just do that bad boy in seconds.
Yep.
But yeah, you know, I know that there's various people who swear by various education systems, but at the end of the day, I think at this point in time, certain education systems have been tried and proved. And as much as people love banging down on private education, private schools, sorry, they do impart on you a high level. I mean, obviously, I didn't learn taxes in school in high school, but I learned, you know, sort of, we were taught math in such a way, or taught, you know, sort of English in such a way that even though I wasn't taught contract law or whatever, I was able to quickly pick up on it the minute I entered the real world.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm not saying you can't succeed in life if you go to a public school, or whatever. There were a hell of a lot of private school kids that bailed out in the July handicap in the first year at varsity. The July handicap, by the way, is what we call July, that first round of serious exams, that determines whether you can stay at varsity or you fail out. So we call it the July handicap. And
It sounds like a horse race. It's like the Durban
yeah,
July.
it's named after the Durban July handicap because you just get kicked out of varsity. I actually remember this. One of the tests. What was it? Oh, informatics 1A. I remember going in. I hadn't done great on that test, but I hadn't completely destroyed it. But I remember sitting at the back of the lecture hall, and my lecturer walks in, and she has a stack of papers, all our test papers. It was around Durban July time, and she says, "I would like," and she separates them. You know, she takes like maybe 50 or 60 people's exam papers. She calls out their names. All these people, they stand up, and she says, "All of you people got less than 30% of this on this test. Stop wasting my time. Get out of my faculty. I'd like you to leave now." I was like, holy shit.
This is some brutal shit, man.
That is brutal. And I was sitting there like, damn, bro. Like,
but then also you're like, I at least got above 30. Like,
yeah. I was just like, yes.
Wow. Okay. So we have some like Hunger Games, Game of Thrones style education.
I was just like,
What?
wow. And the thing is, for me though, right? I went to private school where, you know, to a certain extent, the teachers are expected to sort of coddle you and kiss your behind and all that, because your parents are paying enormous amounts of money. I mean, my cousin went to St. John's, and even back then it was like 60, 70 grand a year.
Oof.
And at that time, that was the price. His mom was basically buying a brand new Toyota Tazz every single year just for his school fees. Because that's what a Toyota Tazz cost back then, or Corolla,
So
whatever.
yeah, I'm definitely the undereducated one then, because I went through a series of public schools and then homeschooling. So
No, and I'm grateful for that, because now we can contrast to people, you know, our life situations that, you know, even though you're not wrecked, neither of us are completely screwed in our lives, totally. But, you know, the fact that I went to private school doesn't preclude me from being friends with you, or anything like that. It's just,
And it's
yeah.
madness. Like so there was a carte blanche report a couple of months ago now on university entrances, and there was this interview,
Yeah.
and I think I might have said this on a previous episode, but carte blanche went around to a bunch of different areas and spoke to a bunch of high school matriculants, and in one sort of township somewhere, they were speaking to this group of girls who were like, "Yo, we're so excited to go to university, and the interviewer was like, but have you considered maybe like a TVET college or something else?" And they were like, no, our teachers told us we have to do university. University is the best place to go. It's the only place to go. And I sat there and
Yeah.
and it's obvious, like, okay, but these kids don't even know what they want to do with their lives yet, but you're trying to get them into the system, which is already difficult to get into, and it's getting harder and harder, without actually honestly explaining all the options, and also explaining you don't need to go to university necessarily.
I mean, look, it was an anecdote, but for most of my life, but it's become true recently. But somebody once told me there are more plumbers and electricians with houses in Plettenberg Bay than people with BCom degrees, and it's painfully true.
Oh yeah,
painfully
oh
true.
yeah.
You got into this on Twitter this week, actually.
I think
Like
I might have.
people.
It was
People like, Bill Gates and all that, high school dropouts and all that. And this is not to say there's no value in formal education, blah, 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 blah. But
because like the thing that I know
the
that
obsession. Oh, yes, it was it was a tweet I quoted about somebody about Johann Steenhuisen. And I was like,
yeah.
and Steenhuisen. And I said, because it was some dude. Oh, yes, it's the guy who started the Black Bull movement against purple cows.
He ended up blocking one of the MPs who couldn't take the heat. It was amazing.
I quoted his tweet because he's like, oh, Steenhuisen has all this because he has a private school twang. And I said, dude, I report to all manner of people with all various hues of skin color. Some of them, many of them are not even a fraction as educated as I am, but I still report to them anyway. They earn more. They outrank me because it's not about your education or your school you went to. It's about the value you deliver, the things that you do for your company.
Because I thought about that afterwards. I remember now. I mean, he tweeted that, and I think I tweeted that for just like, I've got a matric and I'm doing fine. I was like a B average student, right? I mean, I scraped into a university exemption that I could actually go study, and I just never did because my family couldn't afford it. And the one option I did have, I didn't want to take. I might be the only uneducated white guy in the country. I don't know. Actually, I know for a fact I'm not. I just had a braai with a bunch of others. But that's the thing. It's like university has been fetishized and it's been turned into a status symbol. South Africa, we love our status symbols. And I remember that thread. It was like, and
they're guys with brand new BMW 3 Series in Mamelodi, and I've asked him, like, why do you drive a brand new 3 Series but you live in a shack? And he said, more people will see me in my 3 Series than will see me in my shack.
Yeah, dude,
status symbol.
Yeah, it's the same thing down here in Cape Town. There are people who have worked on the metro rail lines. I'm pretty sure they still do. They're earning very good money. They're earning rich white suburb money, but they live in the squatter camps in Khayelitsha and wear nice clothes and drive nice cars with the same logic, because people always see them out in town, at the clubs, whatever, and never sort of, at home. But anyway, so with that Steenhuisen thing, I didn't get into it any further, but I thought about it afterwards, and I was like, all knowledge is constructed. Like, when you go to university, it's not as if God himself came down from heaven and wrote out the curriculum on a stone tablet. People develop and iterate on the content of these curricula. There's a whole system to do this. And who would you trust when it comes to something like public policy? A politician with 25 years of actual experience, or someone that took a 3-year BCom in some garbage degree and now thinks he's better than everyone else? Because that's the part that sticks with me. It's like, yes, Steenhuisen and a bunch of other people in the DA haven't got anything past matric. You know what they do have? A lifetime of public service. They are the ones who will write the courses that other people take. So now you want to tell me about, like, and it's just, that's what it is. Like, today, if you learn anything in programming, if you take a technology course of any type, every piece of technology you learn, most of it was developed by people without tertiary education, because that's what a new field looks like. You have to develop the field before you can develop content to train other people in it. So I'm thinking about all this. And the other thing was, if you say, well, you have to have a tertiary education to be an MP, you're immediately excluding like 90% of the country from participating in politics, which is the most undemocratic thing I can think of. And I'm just like, I'm adding all this up and I'm like, it doesn't matter how much you spent on your education. It matters the value you bring to the market. And it's like, this is not, if your education was worth a damn, you would know that. I would ask for a refund.
Exactly. And again, I agree with you. As a recipient of private fucking school education, I will say though, one of the upsides to private school education, one of that you pay the premium on, I would say, you know, if you had the choice between a really good public school and a really good private school, is the connections your children will make. That is to say, you know, I'm not going to name names, but you know, people, my friends and family that I know are connected to various people in this country and other countries because they went to school together. Politicians and business people, you know, there's this old joke that Standard Bank is basically the St. Andrews boys' school retirement home, and it is, because everybody that's at the upper echelons of Standard Bank went to St. Andrews.
I can so imagine that,
yeah.
So there was there's one more point on education, and actually I want to share this because it's insane, but there's one more point I want to make. So I'm going to make that point first, then I'm going to quote from this article, and we're going to talk about Beyonce. But
the only tech topic I have is okay, continue.
No, it's just like I spent a lot of time, you know, sort of over the last 10 years looking at all these different people, how they make money on the internet, right? Like there's always these entrepreneurs trying new things. And there was this one guy who was like, a bunch of people were interviewed and they were asked, like, if you woke up tomorrow and you had nothing, like literally nothing, no connections, no reputation, nothing, how would you rebuild yourself? And a lot of them had good answers. And I think the best one was, there was a guy that said, I would take any job I could find until I earned $500, and then I would buy a suit and I would go hang out at business conferences and business events, because he immediately saw the value in networking. That was his whole thing, was being able to connect people. None of them that I can remember, none of them said, well, I'm going to take on $60,000 of student debt and go study. Not a single one said that. All of them looked at, well, let me see what I can work with, what problems can I solve, what value can I add. And then there's that one guy that stuck out with the networking. Just, you know, play the part and go. So if you have limited resources, but you have the internet, which is an infinite resource for information, you will be much better off studying online courses for things like business and tech skills and management skills.
Yeah, and Skillshare, Udemy, whatever.
Do like edX, do all that stuff, and then spend time networking in the real world. That's it. You know, go to more networking business conferences. There's like, dude, you can go to meetup.com and find these things.
Honestly, there are literally hundreds of thousands of PhD graduates every single year. Are there hundreds of, just in the STEM field, there are hundreds of thousands of PhD graduates every year. Never mind the non-STEM fields. Do you think there are hundreds and thousands of millionaires made globally every year? Bullshit. No.
No, and that's the thing. It's like it hurts when I see, like, on Twitter, there's people that are like, you know, I got this degree or that degree 2 years ago, and I still don't have a job and was struggling. And I go, I can't imagine what you spent on that. And if you had taken a different path where you might have been, if you just understood that it's all about generating value, it's not about how much your education cost you. That has nothing to do with how far you go in life. So anyway, on that point, one last education topic, which is amazing. There's a Quillette article that dropped yesterday entitled "What They Don't Teach You at the University of Washington's Ed School," and it's written under a pseudonym. And it's all about this guy that wanted to become a teacher, and he attended what he thought was a prestigious school. But Wotan, I'm going to quote you one of these sentences. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Quote, "In one session, the instructor rejected all gender pronouns and required that we dance to Beyonce songs while discussing instances of heteronormative behavior and homophobia." End quote.
Okay, cool. I'm done with this podcast, guys.
Yeah, guys, that was fun.
We're done out.
It's a wild article, and it's basically just like straight up SJW stuff. But you got to read it because it's like he talks about how
it's just.
So Beyonce is in there. There's a whole bunch of. It's actually. It's kind of scary. It's kind of like watching a train crash. You don't think it's real. It is real.
Sorry, I'm just trying to calm myself down for a second here.
I know. Tell you what I'll do.
I'm really genuinely trying to calm. This is, by the way, my Saturday. I'm supposed to be calm today.
So like, I'll quote, because there's another sentence after that which is even better. I'll just quote them at you. No, but anyway. So I kind of want to share this.
Yeah, I'm just calming myself down.
just to kind of reinforce the point that.
Okay,
I can see you're struggling. Are you okay?
Yeah,
I'm okay. You're back with us.
That was a real sentence. That was really.
Oh yeah. No, it's a real.
Okay, no, I'm good. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
This is the hacker known as 4chan.
It's just.
So FYI, Beyonce is a teaching tool now.
Why?
I will link this in the podcast.
Like, I don't believe in physical violence, but I just want to like throw things around the room now and laugh and cry and just.
So that's the hot takeaway. The rest of the article is basically
okay. Continue. Yeah.
How these professors put this huge emphasis on identity politics and how it actually destroyed their ability to learn. And the guy documents it very, very honestly, very thoroughly. But that Beyonce thing, I was just like, no. So anyway, to conclude the topic, try not to spend too much on your education. Rather spend the time and the effort on the resources that are out there. I promise you, they are way better than you think they are. You can get a lot further.
Agreed.
Learning things yourself. All right, so do we have a tech topic? Because I didn't.
I do have a tech topic, actually. It's a tangential tech topic, and it's something I've mentioned many times before. I was at a dinner with my aunt and some of her friends, and I know last week or in our double bill, I mentioned the concept of facial recognition and Taylor Swift and
the three creeps. Yeah, the creeps who were caught out at the concert when facial rec actually found them in the crowd. That was the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life. But carry on.
Yeah. 3 guys more obsessed than Taylor Swift. Let's not get into what that implies. But and the Super Bowl guys. But I was at this dinner with them, and it was a nice restaurant. And these are, I mean, they're not dumb people, but they're literature people. They have no real understanding.
They're not dumb people, but they're literature people. Wow. Shade level 100. Carry on.
Shots fired. STEM forever,
we're talking Southside Chicago here. What the fuck?
STEM forever, bitches. Fuck all.
Get in, loser. We're going to do science.
This is in case we have any literature guests on the show this year, because as you know, we've made it quite public that we plan on having many guests on the show this year, many of whom will not be massive celebrities, actually, by the way.
Good.
I don't
need the heat. I don't want the heat.
Yeah, we're going to have a hell of a lot of normal people. So, jump on the Discord and you could be a guest on the show. But point is, I was at this dinner and I was explaining to them this whole Taylor Swift and the facial recognition thing. And in explaining to them, I realized aside from mathematical ability, aside from logical deduction, as I was explaining concepts like probability and I was reducing big numbers in terms of probability to one example. I said the probability of X happening is so unlikely. It would be like if I unloaded an entire magazine of AK-47 ammunition directly at you and every bullet missed or was a misfire. And as I was explaining this to them, I realized one of the most underrated skills in STEM is the ability to communicate not only to your first years but to laymen, non-STEM people, complex concepts in a very educationally digestive way. And I think channels like Kuz Kazat and Isaac Arthur and John Michael Gaudier do this very well, and I think that maybe this is my personal bias, but I think maybe universities taking on new recruits should factor this in. Maybe add this as a requirement when you do PhD or masters, is have them explain a concept, a complex concept, very nicely to non-STEM people. Because I think one of the most critical, I mean, yes, people shit on Edison all the time and people love the hell out of Tesla, but one of the greatest things about Edison is his ability to understand business value and technology value and explain concepts to people. So I think one of the
just bearing in mind that both Edison and Tesla have been dead for ages, but somehow the fight keeps going.
right,
The feud is never ending.
right. So main point of this whole monologue of mine is, guys, one of the most important and underrated abilities in STEM is you taking a very difficult concept and making it very digestible for people who have no idea what the hell you are talking about. And that's me, my take.
No, that's
thing.
cool. I co-sign everything you said, and I just increment CGP Gray's channel because he also does.
Oh, yes, that too, yeah. Just definitely make it very digestible, and I think universities need to be cognizant of this. And I hope maybe one day on our podcast that we propagate that you and I can sort of explain concepts that are very difficult, but just make them very digestible for non-tech people.
Okay. Like, for example, dancing to the songs of Beyonce while discussing instances of heteronormative behavior.
Please, just...
we are objectively living in the best...
that I'm going to psychologically suppress this. That thing that you said there, I'm going to very openly admit that I will psychologically suppress that.
It's like post-intersectionality stress disorder. Like, every time you read something like what these people do, it's just like, no. You just hang up the phone mentally.
Yep, I'm done.
Cool. We're pretty much at the end. There is actually a semi-tech topic I do want to bring up. If there's any kind of late 90s nostalgia fans, there's a game on Steam called Hypnospace Outlaw, which is actually pretty cool. The game is essentially, they basically recreated an alternative 1999. So we're talking like GeoCities vibe, but with like a level of futurism.
Gotta check on my Neopets.
Exactly. Jesus, dude, I'm feeling old now. My Neopets are all dead, I'm sure. I don't know if they can die, but they're definitely dead.
Right.
And the whole game is basically...
And check out my MySpace. Update by Panic at the Disco song, or was it? My Chemical Romance song, and nice. Like new eyeliner and whatever in my profile pic. Yeah.
No, but like but anyway, like I said, for nostalgia fans, the whole game is like you browse this sprawling internet and you have to like pick up content violations. You're an enforcement officer for the Hypnospace Police Bureau or something crazy. But the whole thing is you just get to spend hours like clicking through this extremely 90s experience, like down to the pixelated art. It's amazing. Did you see MySpace lost one of their primary data servers? Like they lost some backup and a couple of terabytes of data went missing, and like literally nobody gives a shit. Like, I don't know.
I actually miss Tom. I actually miss Tom for MySpace. Tom didn't block or shadow ban anyone.
Oh no, it was literally yesterday that they lost 500,000 music files. And it didn't even break the mainstream press. Like, literally nobody gives a shit anymore.
Tom, we're so sorry. We're so sorry, Tom.
Tom was right. The Facebook seduced us, and we should have stayed true to the way of MySpace.
Yeah. MySpace was our day one, and we didn't appreciate MySpace enough, and now we're suffering for it.
Yeah, I think we need to reclaim MySpace. Hashtag dumbface. Hashtag delete Facebook. Because
didn't Musk say he's good? Musk, come on, Elon, come on, do it, bro.
I saw a tweet, but
be a boichi, bro. Be a good Pretoria guy and do it.
I'm pretty sure he was. That was a Photoshop thing. But anyway, this has been the No Script Show for the 6th of April. It's just over a month to Election Day. Holy shit. Yeah. Thanks for
I
listening. And
think
you can find us at noscriptshow.com. Closing thoughts?
exactly. I think that we will do a few more election-orientated shows as the time gets closer. And in general, I hope everybody stays safe and has a good time.
Yeah. And also, if Purple Cow Party lands any seats in Parliament, when they land seats in Parliament,
We're coming for
because
you from Zile.
we're going to, we're probably going to get together at the
No script
actual.
switch.
Yeah, we're going to do a no script special sort of that week of Parliament opening. We're actually going to go to Cape Town and see what's up. Maybe bump into Big Day Liberty. Who knows?
Also, there's a no script special in April coming as well.
Yes, there is. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but we're excited to find out.
Cool.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye.